The first warning sign should have been the empty coffee mug on my desk. Axel always brought me coffee on Wednesday mornings, a tradition we'd kept since our third date 2 years ago. But today, like the past 3 weeks, my desk sat bare. I'm Rosalind, and until recently, I thought I had it all figured out. A thriving career in corporate law, a handsome fiancé, and a sister who was my best friend since the day she was born. Funny how life has a way of shattering those perfect little illusions. Earth to Roz! Taya's voice cut through my thoughts as she perched herself on the edge of my desk. You're doing that thing again, where you stare at nothing and look like someone killed your cat. I forced a smile. Just thinking about Annika's birthday dinner tonight. Mom's going all out as usual. Taya's expression shifted, something flickering behind her eyes. Speaking of Annika, have you noticed anything different about her lately? Different how? I don't know. She lowered her voice, glancing around our open-plan office. She seems happier? Like, unusually happy for someone whose startup just tanked. I hadn't thought about that. Annika had been practically floating lately, despite losing her investors last month. When I'd offered to help, she'd brushed me off with a breezy, "Everything happens for a reason, Roz." My phone buzzed. A text from Axel. "Can't make it to dinner tonight. Emergency client meeting. Third time this month," I muttered, showing Taya the message. She frowned. "Roz, honey, when was the last time you and Axel actually spent time together?" "We had breakfast last." I paused, counting backward. "Sunday? No, that was 2 weeks ago." "And you're not worried?" "He's launching a new investment fund. It's a crucial time." Taya grabbed my hand. "Remember what your grandmother used to say? When something feels wrong in your gut, it usually is." Before I could respond, my phone lit up with Annika's face. "Hey sis, you're coming tonight, right?" "Wouldn't miss it. Want me to bring anything?" "Just yourself." Her voice was practically singing. "And don't worry about Axel. I already heard he can't make it." I sat up straighter. "How did you?" "Oh, he mentioned it at the coffee shop this morning. Total coincidence. Anyway, gotta run. Love you." The line went dead before I could respond. Taya raised an eyebrow. "Coincidence?" she said. "Since when does Axel get coffee from that overpriced place Annika loves? He's been loyal to that corner deli near his office for years." "Maybe he was in the area," I said, but something cold settled in my stomach. "Roz?" Taya's voice was gentle but firm. "You need to open your eyes. First, the coffee tradition stops. Then he starts canceling plans. Now he's randomly running into your sister at coffee shops. What exactly are you suggesting?" I'm suggesting you pay attention. Watch them tonight at dinner." "Oh, wait, he conveniently can't make it." I stood up, gathering my files. "You're reading too much into this. Anika would never. She's my sister. And Axel is your fiancé. But that doesn't seem to mean much to him lately, does it?" I wanted to argue, but memories started flooding in. Anika asking about my relationship schedule, always knowing when Axel would be busy. The way she'd insisted on helping plan our wedding, then suddenly stopped mentioning it. The furtive glances at her phone, the quick exits from family gatherings. "I need to get back to work," I said, my voice tight. Taya stood, squeezing my shoulder. "Just keep your eyes open tonight. And remember, you're stronger than you think." As she walked away, I pulled up my calendar. Annika's birthday dinner was at 7 p.m. at our mother's house. I had exactly 6 hours to decide whether I was being paranoid or if my perfect little world was about to implode. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Axel. "Miss you. Make it up to you this weekend?" I stared at the message, remembering how he used to write paragraphs, not sentences. How he'd surprise me with lunch dates and random flowers. When had that stopped? And more importantly, why hadn't I noticed until now? I typed back a simple "okay" and turned my phone face down on my desk. Tonight, I decided, I would watch. I would listen. And maybe, just maybe, I'd finally see what everyone else seemed to notice but me. The birthday dinner was a disaster before it even began. I arrived early to help Mom set up, only to find Annika already there, humming as she arranged flowers in the dining room. "You're early," I said, watching her adjust a rose. "Just excited." She spun around, her smile too bright. "Mom's letting me use her good china." Mom appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "Rosalind, perfect timing. Could you check if the wine's chilled?" Anika picked out Axel's favorite red, even though he can't make it. "Wasn't that thoughtful?" I froze. "How did you know which wine Axel prefers?" "Oh, Annika's fingers fumbled with the flowers. "You must have mentioned it." I didn't. The doorbell saved her from responding. As Mom rushed to answer it, I pulled out my phone and did something I'd been avoiding all day. I opened Axel's location sharing. We'd set it up months ago for safety, but I'd never checked it before. The blue dot pulsed mockingly at me. He wasn't at any client meeting. He was at his apartment. "Ross?" Annika's voice was soft. "Everything okay?" I looked up to find her watching me, concern painted across her face. The same expression she'd worn when I'd told her Axel proposed. The same look she'd given me when I'd asked her to be my maid of honor. "Actually, no." I held up my phone. "Axel's at home." Her face paled slightly. "Maybe the meeting got canceled?" "Funny how you know so much about his schedule lately." "What's that supposed to mean?" Before I could answer, Mom returned with Taya in tow. "Look who's early, too." Taya took one look at our faces and knew something was wrong. "I brought wine," she announced, breaking the tension. "And gossip. Lots of gossip." The evening progressed, with forced smiles and careful conversations. I watched Anika check her phone every few minutes, always angling it away from me. At one point, she excused herself to take a call in the garden. "I'm going to get some air," I told Mom and Taya, following my sister out. The summer evening was warm, but I shivered as I approached the garden. Anika's voice carried clearly through the darkness. "You should have come." "No, she doesn't suspect anything." "Of course I feel bad, but—" "Listen, we need to tell her soon." "No, you don't understand. I can't keep doing this." My hands shook as I pulled out my phone and opened my messages with Axel. There, buried under months of loving texts, was a thread I'd never noticed before. Somehow, I'd archived it instead of deleting it. Unknown number. "Meeting you was the best mistake I've ever made." Axel. "We need to be careful. She trusts us both." Unknown number. "I hate lying to her, but I love you more." Axel. "Soon, baby. We'll tell her soon." The timestamps matched the weeks when our coffee tradition had ended, when Axel had started working late, when Annika had stopped talking about my wedding. "Roz?" Annika's voice cracked behind me. "What are you doing out here?" I turned slowly, phone still in hand. "Funny thing about iCloud," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Sometimes it syncs numbers you think you've hidden." She took a step back. "I can explain." "Can you explain why my sister and my fiancé have been sneaking around behind my back? Can you explain why you're texting him right now, pretending he's at a meeting?" "It's not what you think." "Really?" I laughed, the sound harsh in the quiet garden. "Because I think my sister is sleeping with my fiancé. I think they've been lying to me for weeks, maybe months. Please tell me how that's not what I think." Tears filled her eyes. "We didn't mean for this to happen. It just did. Things don't just happen, Anika. People make choices." "Roz, please." "Don't." I held up my hand. "Don't you dare ask me to understand. Don't you dare ask me to forgive you." I walked past her, back toward the house where Mom and Taya were probably wondering where we'd gone. At the door, I paused. "You know what the worst part is?" I said, not turning around. "I would have done anything for you. Both of you." I heard her sob, but I didn't look back. Inside, I grabbed my purse and keys. "Rosalind?" Mom called after me. "Where are you going? We haven't even had cake." "Ask your other daughter," I said. "I'm sure she'll be happy to explain everything." Taya followed me out to my car. Want me to drive? I shook my head. I need to do something first. Ross? I'm okay, I said, surprising myself by how steady my voice was. I'm actually really okay. Because now I know exactly what I'm dealing with. I started the car, finally understanding what my grandmother meant about trusting your gut. Sometimes the truth hurts. But lies? Lies destroy everything they touch. 3 days after the birthday disaster, Mom called a family dinner. To clear the air, she said, as if betrayal could be solved over pot roast and mashed potatoes. I almost didn't go, but Taya convinced me otherwise. You need to show them you're not hiding, she said, as she helped me choose an outfit. Wear that red dress, the one that makes you look like you could buy and sell their souls. Walking into Mom's dining room felt like entering a battlefield. Axel was already there, sitting next to Inika. They sprang apart when they saw me, guilt written across their faces. Rosalind! Mom rushed forward, arms outstretched. I'm so glad you came. I stepped back. Let's skip the pretense, Mom. Why are we here? Sit down, please. She gestured to the table. We need to talk as a family. Family? I laughed. Is that what we're calling this now? Axel cleared his throat. Roz, please. Don't call me that. I turned to face him fully. You lost that right when you started sleeping with my sister. Rosalind, Mom gasped. There's no need for vulgarity. No need for… Are you serious right now? I stared at her. Your younger daughter has been having an affair with my fiancé, and you're worried about my language? Annika spoke up, her voice small. We wanted to tell you properly. When? After the wedding? Or were you planning to object dramatically at the ceremony? Actually, Axel stood up, reaching for Annika's hand. We have something to announce. My stomach dropped as I watched him pull something from his pocket. A small, velvet box. The same one he'd used to propose to me 6 months ago. We're engaged, Annika said, slipping my ring, onto her finger. The room spun. Mom clapped her hands together. Isn't this wonderful? Now we can all move forward. Move forward? My voice sounded distant, even to my own ears. You think this makes everything okay? Darling, Mom placed her hand on my arm. These things happen. Sometimes people realize they're meant for someone else. The important thing is to handle it with grace. I shook her off. Grace? Like sneaking around behind my back? Like lying to my face for months? We fell in love, Axel said, as if that explained everything. We didn't mean to hurt you. But you did mean to steal my life, didn't you, Annika? I turned to my sister. My fiancé wasn't enough. You had to take my ring too? She at least had the decency to look ashamed. He had it reset. Of course he did, because that makes it better. Rosalind, Mom's voice took on that warning tone she used when we were kids. They're trying to make this right. The least you can do is support their happiness. I looked around the table, at my mother's pleading expression, at Axel's defiant stance, at Annika's trembling hands playing with my ring. Support their happiness, I repeated slowly. Like you're all supporting mine? Don't be dramatic, Mom sighed. You're young. You'll find someone else. That's not the point. I slammed my hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. The point is trust, loyalty, family, or have you forgotten what those words mean? We're still family, Annika whispered. Are we? Because from where I'm standing, you're just the person who betrayed me in the worst possible way. Enough! Mom stood up. Rosalind, either you accept this and behave civilly, or… Or what, Mom? You'll choose her side? Too late. You already have. I grabbed my purse and headed for the door. Behind me, I heard chairs scraping as someone stood up. Roz, wait! Axel called out. I turned back one last time. You know what's funny? I actually feel sorry for you both. Because if you can do this to me, you can do it to each other, and you will. That's different, Annika protested. We're in love. So were we, I said, looking at Axel. Remember? The silence that followed was deafening. As I walked out, Mom's voice carried through the open door. Well, I think that went rather well, all things considered. I made it to my car before the tears came. But they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. Pure, clarifying rage. My phone buzzed with a text from Taya. How bad? I typed back. They're engaged. My ring. Mom's thrilled. Her response was immediate. I'm coming over, and I'm bringing tequila. Also, remember what you said about your grandmother's letter? I started the car, a plan forming in my mind. Yes, the letter. The one thing Anika didn't know about. The one card I hadn't played yet. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and I was done playing nice. Sterling's law office hadn't changed in 20 years. Same leather chairs, same dusty law books, same smell of coffee and old paper. He looked up from his desk as I entered, his eyes crinkling with recognition. Rosalind, he stood to greet me. I was wondering when you'd come. You heard. Small town. He gestured to a chair. Your mother called me yesterday, actually. Wanted to know if I could start working on Annika and Axel's prenup. I sat down hard. Of course she did. I declined. He poured 2 cups of coffee. Professional conflict of interest, given my long relationship with your grandmother. That's why I'm here. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo I'd taken years ago. Grandmother's letter, the one she made me promise not to open until I really needed it. Sterling nodded slowly. Ah, and you think now is the time? My sister is wearing my engagement ring and planning a wedding with my ex-fiancé. Yeah, I'd say it's time. He walked to a wall safe hidden behind a painting, entering a combination with practiced ease. The letter he withdrew was yellowed with age, my name written in my grandmother's elegant script. Before I give you this, he said, holding it just out of reach. Are you sure you're ready for what it might say? What do you know about it? Enough to know it will change things, permanently. I reached for the letter. Things are already changed. He handed it over, watching as I broke the seal. The paper inside was thick, expensive, typical of my grandmother. As I read, my hands began to shake. This can't be right, I whispered. It is. Sterling sat back down. Every word. The house, the investment portfolio, everything. Your grandmother was very specific. The entire inheritance goes to you, not to be shared with Annika under any circumstances. I looked up. Why? She saw something in Annika even then, a pattern of behavior. He sipped his coffee. The incident with your prom date? The scholarship she convinced you to turn down? Your grandmother noticed? But this is... I checked the numbers again. This is millions. Which explains Axel's sudden interest in family dinners, doesn't it? A knock at the door interrupted us. Taya poked her head in. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was... She stopped, seeing my face. What did I miss? I handed her the letter. Her eyes widened as she read. Holy shit, she breathed. Does Annika know? No one knows except Sterling, I said. Grandmother made sure of that. And now you, Sterling added. The question is, what are you going to do with this information? Taya sat down next to me. Please tell me you're thinking what I'm thinking. That depends. Are you thinking about how quickly Axel would drop Annika if he knew she wasn't getting any inheritance? Exactly that. Sterling leaned forward. Be careful. Revenge might feel good in the moment, but... This isn't about revenge, I interrupted. This is about truth, about consequences. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Annika's planning an engagement party next weekend. Please be reasonable and attend. Taya read over my shoulder and snorted. Perfect timing. Indeed. I stood up. Sterling, I need copies of everything, and I need to know exactly what my rights are here. He nodded, already reaching for his files. The estate is yours to manage as you see fit. Your grandmother was very clear about that. Good. I turned to Taya. Feel like helping me plan a party? What kind of party? The kind where truth bombs get dropped and karma comes calling. Sterling cleared his throat. Rosalind, your grandmother trusted you with this for a reason. She believed in your judgment. And I won't let her down. I gathered the papers. But she also taught me that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their actions. As we left the office, Taya linked her arm through mine. You know they're going to hate you for this. They already betrayed me. Might as well give them a real reason. My phone buzzed again. Annika this time. Please come to the party. I need my big sister there. I showed Taya the message. She raised an eyebrow. You going to respond? Oh, I'll be there. I typed back a quick, wouldn't miss it, and pocketed my phone. And I'm bringing one hell of a wedding gift. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's simply letting the truth do its work. And thanks to my grandmother's foresight, I had all the truth I needed. I ran into Axel at the coffee shop the next morning. Not our old coffee shop, the pretentious one Annika loved. He was alone, staring at his phone with a furrowed brow. Trouble in paradise? I asked, making him jump. Rosalind. He straightened up. I didn't expect to see you here. Clearly. I ordered my coffee, ignoring how he shifted uncomfortably beside me. Something wrong? He hesitated. Actually, can we talk? Now you want to talk? But I followed him to a corner table anyway. I needed to know what game he was playing. It's about the engagement party, he said, fiddling with his cup. Anika's going a bit overboard. How so? She wants to rent out the Metropolitan. Full catering, live band, the works. I nearly choked on my coffee. The Metropolitan was the most expensive venue in town. And, he lowered his voice. She keeps talking about this inheritance she's expecting, making all these plans. What inheritance would that be? Your grandmother's? She said it's being split between you two. I let the silence stretch, watching him squirm. Finally, I said, interesting assumption. Before he could respond, someone called my name. I looked up to see Damien, a guy I knew from my gym, approaching our table. Rosalind, haven't seen you at kickboxing lately. Been busy. I gestured to the empty chair. Join us? Axel's face darkened as Damien sat down. I should go. Why? I smiled sweetly. We're just catching up. Damien, did you know Axel's engaged to my sister now? Damien's eyebrows shot up. Your sister? As in, the one you told me about at the gym? The one who… Yes, that sister. I turned back to Axel. You were saying something about inheritance? Axel stood abruptly. We can discuss this later. After he left, Damien whistled low. Well, that was uncomfortable. Sorry for dragging you into it. Are you kidding? This is better than my morning soap operas. He leaned forward. So what's this about inheritance? I found myself telling him everything. The letter, the betrayal, the upcoming party. He listened without interrupting, his expression growing more serious. You're planning something, he said when I finished. Maybe. Need help? I studied him. Why would you want to help me? Because I've seen you at the gym, destroying that punching bag instead of dealing with this. He shrugged. And because I hate cheaters. My phone buzzed. Annika sending party details to the family group chat. The Metropolitan, Saturday night, black tie optional. Come celebrate our love story, the message read. Love story, I scoffed. More like betrayal biography. You know, Damien said thoughtfully, if you really want to make an impact, you need to let them dig their own grave first. What do you mean? Let them make it big. Let them invite everyone. Let them build up expectations. He grinned. The higher they climb, the harder they fall, I finished. I like how you think. I'm free Saturday, by the way. Are you asking to be my date to my sister's engagement party to my ex-fiancé? I'm offering to be your backup when you burn it all down. I found myself smiling, really smiling, for the first time in weeks. Deal! My phone buzzed again. Taya. Just got the invite. You sure about this? I typed back, more sure than ever. Looking up at Damien, I asked, how do you feel about helping me shop for a show-stopping dress? Only if you tell me the rest of your plan. Well, I pulled out the copy of grandmother's letter. It starts with this. As I outlined my ideas, Damien's grin grew wider. By the time we finished our coffee, we had a solid strategy, one that would let karma do most of the heavy lifting. You know, he said as we left the coffee shop, they're expecting you to either make a scene or not show up at all. Exactly, which is why I'm going to do neither. No dramatic confrontation? Oh, there will be drama. I checked my watch. But first, I need to make a few calls, starting with Sterling. The lawyer? If they want to talk inheritance, let's talk inheritance. I pulled out my phone. Time to set the stage for Saturday night. As I dialed Sterling's number, I caught my reflection in a store window. I looked different somehow. Stronger, clearer. Ready. You're kind of scary when you're plotting, Damien observed. Good, I said, as Sterling's office answered, because this is just the beginning. The Metropolitan buzzed with pre-party energy as staff rushed around setting up. I stood in the doorway, watching Anika direct people like a general commanding troops. The flower wall needs to be higher, she called out. And where's the champagne fountain? Champagne fountain? Taya whispered beside me. Someone's going all out. On credit, apparently. I adjusted my deep blue dress, the one Damien had helped me pick out. The venue alone must cost a fortune. Speaking of fortunes, Taya nodded toward Axel, who was having what looked like an intense phone conversation in the corner. He doesn't look happy. I moved closer, pretending to inspect the table settings. What do you mean, declined? Axel was saying. I've been with that bank for years. Yes, I understand, but no, I don't have another way to cover it. He hung up, running a hand through his hair. Annika bounced over to him. Baby, the band needs to know where to set up. And Mom's asking about the menu changes. Did you handle the deposit for the upgraded package? I watched his face carefully. Actually, sweetheart, about that. There you are! Mom's voice cut through the tension as she swept in. Rosalind, I didn't expect you so early. Just offering my support, I said sweetly. After all, what are sisters for? Annika's smile faltered slightly. Right. Thanks. The place looks amazing, I continued. Must be expensive. Oh, we're not worried about that. Annika waved her hand dismissively. Once everything's settled with grandmother's estate. What estate? Mom interrupted. What are you talking about? Axel stepped forward quickly. Maybe we should discuss this later. No, let's discuss it now. I perched on a nearby table. I'd love to hear about this estate you're counting on. Anika's face flushed. Well, grandmother always said she'd take care of us both equally. Did she? When exactly did she say that? I just assumed. You assumed you'd get half of everything? I pulled out my phone, checking the time. Interesting. Sterling should be here any minute. We can ask him about it. Sterling? Mom's eyes narrowed. Why would the family lawyer be coming to an engagement party? Because I invited him. I stood up as Sterling entered, right on schedule. Perfect timing. What's going on? Annika's voice had lost its confidence. Just clearing up some assumptions. I gestured for Sterling to join us. Sterling, my sister was just talking about grandmother's estate. Care to enlighten everyone? He pulled out a folder. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No need, I said. We're all family here, right? Axel moved closer, his eyes fixed on the folder. What is that? Your grandmother's final wishes, Sterling explained, which were quite specific. The entire estate, including this building actually, was left to Rosalind, exclusively. The silence that followed was delicious. That's impossible, Annika whispered. This building? Mom looked around. What do you mean, this building? The Metropolitan has been part of the family holdings for decades, Sterling explained, along with several other properties and investments, all under Rosalind's control now. Axel's face had gone pale. But you said your family owned... I never said anything, Annika cut in. You just assumed. Like you assumed you'd get half of grandmother's estate? I stood up. Funny how assumptions work. Mom stepped between us. There must be some mistake. Surely she meant for both girls. No mistake. Sterling handed her the documents. It's all quite clear. I watched as the implications sank in. Annika's elaborate party, the expensive venue, all the plans they'd made, all based on money that was never coming. So, I turned to Axel. About that deposit for the upgraded menu package? He couldn't meet my eyes. Annika looked between us, realization dawning. What's wrong with the deposit? The bank, he started. Declined his card, I finished. Awkward. Taya, who'd been quietly watching, finally spoke up. Should I tell the staff to stop setting up? Actually, I smiled. Let them continue. I'm paying for everything. You are? Annika's voice cracked. Of course. It's my building after all. And I wouldn't want to disappoint all your guests. I checked my phone again. They should be arriving in about an hour. Just enough time for you two to figure out what you're going to tell them. As I walked away, I heard Mom calling after me, but I didn't turn around. Let them stew in their own mess for a while. Damien was waiting by the bar. Phase 1 complete? Oh, yes. I watched Axel and Annika having what appeared to be their first real fight. And just in time for the main event. The Metropolitan filled with guests as the evening progressed. I watched from my position at the bar as Annika and Axel played the happy couple, their smiles growing more strained by the minute. Ready? Damien appeared beside me, looking sharp in his suit. Almost. I nodded toward the entrance where Sterling was letting in the last few guests, including several board members from Axel's investment firm. Just waiting for the full audience. Mom intercepted me as I moved toward the stage. Rosalind, please, whatever you're planning. What makes you think I'm planning anything? I know that look. It's the same one your grandmother used to get. Funny you should mention grandmother. I gestured to the microphone where Annika was preparing to make her speech. Let's hear what the happy couple has to say first. Annika tapped the microphone, her voice wavering slightly. Thank you all for coming tonight. I let her get through the usual platitudes. How she and Axel found love. How sometimes life surprises you. How family is everything. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew the truth. Then it was Axel's turn. When I first met Annika, through me, I called out, loud enough for nearby guests to hear. At our engagement party, wasn't it? A murmur went through the crowd. Axel's face reddened. Actually, I stood up, champagne glass in hand. I'd like to make a toast. Rosalind, Mom hissed, don't. To the happy couple, I moved toward the stage. To new beginnings, old rings, and hidden truths. Annika gripped the microphone stand. Ross, please. Oh, but I'm just getting started. I took the microphone. You see, everyone here knows the fairy tale version. But let me tell you the real story. This isn't the time. Axel stepped forward. No? When is the time? When you were sneaking around behind my back. When you gave her my engagement ring. Or maybe when you both assumed you'd be living off my inheritance. The room went dead silent. Oh, didn't everyone know? I turned to the crowd. My dear sister and ex-fiancé planned their whole future around money that was never theirs. Money that, as of last week, is legally and solely mine. One of Axel's board members stood up. What inheritance? The Metropolitan, for starters. I gestured around the room. This building, several others, plus a rather substantial investment portfolio. All of which Axel apparently thought came with my sister. That's not true! Annika grabbed for the microphone. We love each other! Really? I pulled out my phone. Should we read your texts from last month? The ones about how you couldn't wait to upgrade your lifestyle? Or Axel's messages about securing the family fortune? Axel's face went from red to white. How did you find them? Amazing what data recovery can do. I smiled at his board members. By the way, gentlemen, you might want to check the books at the firm. Someone's been making some interesting transfers lately. The whispers started immediately. Axel's boss stood up, phone already in hand. And Annika, I turned to my sister. Remember when you said everything happens for a reason? When your startup failed? She stepped back. Don't. Turns out the reason was embezzlement. Sterling has the proof, if anyone's interested. The room erupted in chaos. Axel's colleagues huddled together, phones out. Annika's former business partners, invited for show, started making calls. Mom sat down hard in a nearby chair. You've ruined everything, Annika sobbed. No, you did that all by yourself. Both of you. I handed the microphone to Damien. Oh, and about the party. Don't worry about the bill. Consider it my wedding gift, though I doubt there'll be a wedding now. As if on cue, 2 police officers entered with Sterling. Mr. Davidson, we'd like to ask you some questions about certain financial discrepancies. I watched as Axel was escorted out, his boss following with a thunderous expression. Annika stood alone on the stage, my old ring glinting mockingly on her finger. The ring, I said quietly. She pulled it off and threw it at me. I hate you. Funny, that's exactly how I felt when I found out about you two. I caught the ring and dropped it in my champagne glass. But unlike you, I did something productive with the feeling. The guests began filtering out, the party clearly over. Taya appeared at my side, grinning. That, she said, was better than any revenge movie I've ever seen. It wasn't revenge. I watched as Mom tried to console a crying Annika. It was justice. Damien touched my arm. Ready to go? I took one last look around the room. At the elaborate decorations, the shocked faces, the shattered remains of their perfectly planned deception. Nah, actually, I smiled. I think I'll stay. After all, it is my building. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just exposing the truth. It's watching people face the consequences of their own actions. And from where I stood, karma had never looked better. The morning sun streamed through the Metropolitan's windows as I sat at the bar, sorting through paperwork. The place still smelled faintly of last night's party, champagne and shattered dreams. Coffee? Damien set a cup beside me. He'd shown up early, claiming he wanted to help clean up, but I suspected he just wanted to make sure I was okay. Thanks. I looked up as the door opened, revealing Mom. She looked tired, older somehow. I thought I'd find you here, she said, sliding onto a bar stool. Annika's gone. Gone where? She left a note, said she needs time to find herself. Mom's laugh was bitter, as if she's the victim in all this. And Axel? Released on bail this morning. His firm is pressing charges. She reached for my coffee, took a sip. You knew, didn't you? About the money laundering? Sterling found it when we were going through grandmother's papers. Axel had been using her old accounts to hide transactions. Why didn't you just turn him in? Because then everyone would have painted Annika as the innocent victim. Again. I sorted another stack of papers. They needed to face the consequences of their choices, together. The door opened again. Taya, carrying breakfast bags. I brought bagels and gossip. The firm's board met this morning. Axel's out. Good. I pulled out my grandmother's letter, smoothing its worn edges. You know what's funny? She wrote that she was leaving everything to me because I was the only one who never asked for it. Your grandmother was a wise woman, Mom said quietly. I should have listened to her about Annika. What do you mean? She tried to warn me years ago, said I was enabling Annika's worst instincts by always taking her side. Mom's eyes filled with tears. I'm sorry, Rosalind. I failed you both. You didn't fail me. I reached for her hand. You just loved her too much to see her clearly. And now? Now you see everything. I pushed a folder toward her. Including this. She opened it, frowning. What is it? Grandmother's original business plan for the Metropolitan. She built this place from nothing, turned it into something special. I stood up, walking to the windows. I want to do the same. You're keeping it? I'm renovating it, making it mine. I turned back to face them. Damien's going to help with the design. He grinned. Those kickboxing sessions were getting boring anyway. Taya raised an eyebrow. Just the design? Before I could respond, Sterling arrived, looking unusually disheveled. You need to see this. He handed me his tablet, an email from Anika. My heart stopped as I read it. What is it? Mom asked. A confession. I passed her the tablet. She's admitting everything. The affair, the embezzlement, all of it. She sent copies to the police and Axel's firm. Why would she do that? Because, I read the last line again. She says it's time to write her own story instead of stealing someone else's. The room fell silent as the weight of it settled. Finally, Damien spoke up. So what now? I walked behind the bar, pulling out glasses. Now? Now we plan a renovation. This place needs to be more than just another venue. It needs to be somewhere people come to celebrate real love, not convenient lies. To new beginnings? Taya raised her glass. To truth, Mom added. To karma, Damien winked. I looked at my reflection in the mirror behind the bar. The woman staring back wasn't broken or bitter. She was strong, clear-eyed, ready. To grandmother, I said, who knew exactly what she was doing. As we clinked glasses, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Axel. I'm sorry for everything. I deleted it without responding. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. First order of business, I announced, pulling out the blueprints I'd been working on. The wall between the bar and the ballroom needs to go. We're opening this place up. No more hidden corners for secrets. As Damien leaned in to study the plans, his hand brushed mine. This time, I didn't pull away. You know, Taya said, watching us with a knowing smile, sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's living well, I finished, feeling lighter than I had in months. The morning sun caught the diamond ring still sitting in last night's champagne glass, making it sparkle. But I didn't need it anymore. I had something better. Truth, purpose, and the knowledge that sometimes losing everything is just the beginning of finding yourself. All right. I rolled out the blueprints fully. Let's build something real.